Hello again, this is Peter Huntington, equine vet and nutritionist from Kentucky Equine Research on behalf of Bluegrass Feeds, talking about preparing the sales horse. And in this chapter, as it were, or this short presentation, I'm going to talk about what feeds to use and why you might use certain things. We want balanced nutrition. It's vital at this time so that we can get the future athlete looking at its best. And there are several key nutrients when it comes to preparing the sales horse. Energy, I guess, is one of the major ones. And there we want a mix of energy sources. We don't just want carbohydrates, so it's really grain heavy. We want fat, and there's various good reasons why we're wanting fat. We're wanting plenty of fiber to look after gut health. We need some protein to build muscle, or some amino acids to build muscle, and to help with growth if there's any necessary, and minerals and vitamins for a balanced diet and all the important functions that they have. So, starting point of any feeding program has got to be forage, grazing, and a sale prep. It's going to vary. The amount of grazing is going down from what it was when the horse was out in the paddock or the field, and so the time in the paddock and the quality of the pasture will depend upon how much that grazing will contribute to forage intake. Hay, ideally ad lib, unless hay bellies are a problem. Haylage is good, more digestible, dust-free, generally pretty palatable, so a good additive to sale prep feed. And one of the important things here is super fibres. And there's a couple of those that I think are really useful in prepping. One is a beet pulp, which is a key ingredient of Prep 14. The Bluegrass Prep 14 that was spoken of, and the second is rice bran, which is a high-fat supplement, and Equijul's one that's been there for many years and has been helped in the feeding program of thousands of horses across the world. It has both digestible fibre and great source of fat, and it's a really high-energy feed. Now, the main source of energy will come from grains. There are going to be various grains to use. I think oats are the number one grain. They're palatable, they're safe to feed, and they also help maintain energy when parading. So you've got to get the horse fit for parading, but you've got to have energy so that the horse walks well and looks alert and doesn't have to be dragged out of the box. Barley and maize are higher starch and energy grains. They need heat processing, so micronization is important, and that helps gelatinize the starch to improve digestion, reduce gut problems like colic. Micronizing involves infrared cooking of the individual grains. Heat to really high temperatures. That improves feed conversion efficiency. It makes those feeds safer to use, and they're rolled out to change the form. Fat-based energy is important to use. It's not necessarily something that you want to use in large amounts while you're growing the horse, you're rearing the horse, but at prep time, it really comes into its own. It's very concentrated energy. You can get it from vegetable oils, from flaxseed or from rice bran, low glycemic, very good in terms of behavior. It's a source of energy that doesn't impact behavior in the same way that grains do. It's great for the coat and can provide essential omega-3 fatty acids too. One great high-fat source is Equijul, stabilized rice bran, low in starch. It's got super fibers, really high in energy, so higher in energy than many other feeds. And it also contains some marine-derived calcium, so it's good in terms of support of the ulcers, gastric ulcers, reduces acidity, reduces acid in the hindgut, and it's easy to feed. It's not as messy as oil, keeps for longer, and the horses generally eat it better. And you can use up to a couple of kilos of that per day in a prep if you really want to put weight on the horse. Great for coat and top line development. Now, protein and amino acids are important, not perhaps as important as they are for this foal, but they're vital for growth and they're required for muscle and bone development. They're an ingredient in specialized prep feeds, and branched chain amino acids are there to help build muscle and top line. Minerals and vitamins are required for many different functions, including skeletal development, immunity, hoof and coat, etc. The Prep 14 that we're speaking of here, Bluegrass Prep 14, has got marine-derived calcium for both bone density and gut health. And here's some data from the development of a supplement which is effectively placed in the feed in the Prep 14 and showing the improvement in bone density compared to control horses, and how the gastric pH is so much higher when that's added to the feed, so you can have a reduced risk of gastric ulcers. Other important minerals and vitamins include vitamin E, selenium, zinc, that are all, and vitamin A, all involved in immune function. And then for hoof and coat, we're thinking about things like biotin, zinc, and methionine. Skeletal growth requires feeding. There's a major genetic component too, and the horse needs exercise to build bone. Bone is a use it or lose it organ, so if you're not exercising the horse, bone strength and density will decline. And so it's a matter of having the feeding program that meets the requirements for various minerals and vitamins that are involved in bone development, and then exercise that's appropriate for the individual horse. And as I said, one of the thoughts about the Stamp 30 pellet that's included in Prep 14 is that it contains this marine-derived calcium and other minerals that have been shown to increase bone density. So in choosing a feed, you're going to say, do you want oats in the feed? Example of that is Prep 14. Or do you want a non-oat feed? Something you can add oat to, or an oat just use an oat balancer. If you don't need many calories for your horse, you don't use a low intake of a full feed, you choose a low intake feed. That is in fact more concentrated in vitamins and minerals rather than less, as I say on that slide. So oat balancer would be an example of that. You might feed that at a couple of kilos a day, and for a good doing sales horse, that might be enough. But if you've got feeds that you need higher intakes, then you need a higher intake level, and that gives you more energy. In terms of supplements, you don't need too many. You certainly need some salt, especially if the horse is sweating, and Equidual is a great supplement, as I said. You do get what you pay for in terms of choosing a feed. Now, what about this feed Prep 14? It was designed for prepping. That's why it came into being. It was developed in Lexington, Kentucky. It's a mixed feed or a sweet feed, muesli, so it's very palatable. Possibly more palatable than a cube. It's higher energy than many cubes, many other feeds. 14 megajoules per kilogram, so you don't need to feed as much. And that allows the horse to eat more hay, which is good for the gut. It's a mixture of energy sources, I'll show you on the next slide, and that comes from the high fat content, the 8% fat, and the beet pulp content. And that means it's easy on the horse's gut. Now, this slide shows you energy partitioning, how we're getting from different energy sources. We've got fat in yellow, protein in orange, non-structural carbohydrate in the sort of green. Well, two greens here. That's appropriate for talking to an Irish audience, but it's plenty from the fibre side of it, which is the more olivey green on the bottom right. So a lot coming from fibre and much less coming from carbohydrates. And that lower contribution from carbohydrates means it's more likely to look after the horse's gut and keep the horse happy and contented and in good form when you're parading. Salt and electrolytes are definitely required. I think you should have a salt block in every horse's feeder. The hay is a good source of potassium, and the feed has some added salt. Do you need electrolytes? Well, that depends really how much they're sweating during, depends on the weather and the workload. And so they obviously need free choice water as well to replace the losses in sweat. So, summary sales prep. We've gone through these things before. It's a reward for a job well done. Hard work will get you more money at the sale, but it won't fix all the problems. So it's you've got to have the horse that's been well reared and well grown at the time you bring it in for preparation. It's the time to feed them individually. It's the time to work them individually, and remember that you're raising an athlete. In terms of more information, there's a lot more out there that I haven't been able to cover in this session, Our Equinews website, equinews.com, is a fantastic resource. Bluegrass have got some great products to help you prep horses, and you can get in touch with them for more information, or email us. Thank you very much for your interest, and I'll be back again talking about problems in the third chapter of this little video series.